Hey everyone, it's Jen from Lodo Family, and we are back with another $60 menu this week. Now, I live in Georgia, and I don't know if you want to call this false fall or what, but today it's like 64 degrees outside, and it's actually a little chilly, and I might have to go find a sweater. But I know it's not fall yet, but now I'm really in the mood for fall. So, last week, I told you that we did our last in the series of No More Oven, so you will definitely start to notice that we're going to be using our oven more. We're going to do more sheet pan style meals. We're going to do some casseroles. We're going to really hone in on super simple, low effort meals you can feed your family on a tiny, tiny budget. So let's get into this. Here's our overview for the week. We're going to use a couple different proteins. We're going to have chicken. We're going to have ground beef, ground turkey, and then we're going to finish it off with a pork loin. So let's look at that shopping list. Okay, here is our shopping list this week. And before I forget, there's a couple links down below. The first one goes to our website where you can see all of the slides and you can download the free printable. That includes the shopping list, all the recipes, comes out to like 4 pages, just standard printer. The second link is directly to Walmart. I have my full grocery list there. And the cool part is you can change the zip code to your area and you can see exactly the groceries I got and what they would cost in your local area. Now, this week we did the Walmart Supercenter in Berlin, Maryland. Our total came out to $59.15. But don't forget to check your pantry, your fridge, your freezer, because you very well may already have some of these items. Now, also keep in mind that as we go, there are some things that if you don't necessarily care for, you can easily switch them out. Don't get stuck on the vegetable or, certain flavorings because you can easily switch those out. These are basic recipes that you can use as a formula to make food that your family will love. So let's get into the first day's dinner. I don't know about you, but I absolutely adore spinach artichoke dip. Oh my gosh, I could eat the whole thing by myself. Don't make me share, please. But I do have to make dinner sometimes. So I figured out this really, really good way to include that spinach dip flavor with chicken. And honestly, this is just one of those things that you can kind of make it from scratch, like we're going to, or occasionally I find the Reese's brand of creamed spinach. It's already made and you can just microwave it and kind of do the same thing. So either way, I really like this one. I didn't include artichokes just because my kids are not really a big fan and they pick them all out. So if you like artichokes, you can easily add some canned or jarred artichokes to this, but it is, oh my gosh, yummy. We're going to do this with a side of garlic butter rice. I just recently tried this one out because it goes in a slightly different order than what I'm used to for rice. I'm one of those that I saute my butter and my rice, and then I add my liquid to it, and then bring everything to a boil. Reduce, kind of what I think of as the standard way of rice. This one is a little bit different because you're basically going to add your flavoring, which we're going to do flavoring with chicken broth, but chicken broth can get kind of expensive if you don't currently make your own. So you can also use a chicken bouillon cube, whereas 1 cube equals about a cup of water, cup and a half. I like to just put my bouillon cube into the measuring cup with the water, whisk it around until it's all dissolved, and then add it to my saucepan. But either way is fine. So what we do is we start with the butter, we add the garlic, we add in the chicken broth, and whatever your favorite seasonings are. I did like a garlic herb blend since we're doing the whole garlic butter thing. And then you let the water come to a boil, and then you add your rice. And you're going to reduce the heat to low. You're going to cover it for about 15 to 18 minutes. And by that point, a lot of the water is already absorbed, but you're going to go ahead and take it off the heat, put it in like the center of your stovetop. I did it with the lid off and just let it sit for another 5 minutes. Then you're going to add your butter and just kind of fluff it together. I was a little concerned because I've never done it this way, but I did it and it turned out great. So definitely a keeper. I'll start doing some different versions of this. So let's go to the next one. I don't know about you, but if you add tater tots to a dinner, the odds of my kids liking it have gone up so much higher. Now, this is actually one of the few casseroles that my kids really like because they're not a big fan of everything all squished together. But since this has pretty defined layers, they seem to like it better. And basically, we're just going to take that ground beef and onion and we're going to saute it on the stove top until it's all browned and tender. We drain off the excess grease. We add in whatever seasonings you like. I usually go with a little garlic. I have this little blend called a Hamburger seasoning. I throw that in. Then I take a casserole pan or a baking dish, whatever you want to call it, and I spray it with a little spray just because who wants to clean that later? Not me. So then what I do is I put the beef mixture over the bottom. We're going to spread it as evenly as possible. And then I take my mushroom soup. Now, depending on the brand, mushroom soup can be very thick or it can be kind of runny. If it's kind of runny, I just go ahead and pour it like drizzle style over the beef. If it's a little thicker, I just put it in a bowl and I mix a little bit of water in until it's pourable. And then I pour it. Then we're going to top it with cheese. And you can use more cheese than me, but 2 cups is a good amount, totally up to you. Spread that evenly. And then I'm going to top it with my tater tots. Now, sometimes I'm going to get like crazy and put them in nicely perfect rows. Other times, I'm just going to kind of throw them on there. Honestly, both ways work. Just depends on how much time and how much energy you really have. And then we're going to do some sweet peas. Now, you can easily just microwave those or saute them on the stove top, whichever one works for you. And then you're going to call it done. Now, I will say that I usually add some pickles to the side of this to get that kind of hamburger feel. My kids like a little drizzle of ketchup on top. Hubby and I, we prefer mustard on top. So get fun with it. It's just a nice little take on a standard hamburger. Okay, so this one. Now, if you remember those packs, you can get it from like Lipton or Knorr or, whatever, but they're the chicken flavored noodles. Okay, my kids really, really like those, but I realized that what you were paying for in the pack, you basically could get twice as much just by buying the individual ingredients. So this is basically a copycat of that Knorr chicken flavored pasta. And it's very, very, very simple. So basically, we're just going to throw our water, our milk, a couple bouillon cubes, and some butter with fettuccine noodles. Now, I use about a quarter of a box. And what I do is, the fettuccine noodles are long. I break them into like thirds or fourths so I can get those same small noodles that they're used to from the pack. And then basically, you are just going to cook these for about 15 minutes uncovered, just like you would a Knorr pack. And then once that's pretty much all absorbed, then I'm going to take it off the heat. I'm going to put the lid on top and let it sit for about 5 minutes. This will give it time for that sauce to really thicken. Now, normally I would just add cooked chicken breasts to this, but if you don't have any leftover chicken, you can easily take those 2 chicken breasts, just go ahead and chop them up into smaller pieces and then fry them in a little bit of oil over medium heat. Once they're fully cooked, you just kind of set them aside. Now, I kind of like my chicken chunks to be really small, so I just get it like a rough chop, and then I'm going to add them to the noodles, and I'm also going to add some drained green beans. Now, this would all be a one pot, but I mentioned that my kids don't always like it when everything's all mixed together. So before I mix it all together, I just go ahead and make their plates. So they'll have a little section of noodles, a little section of green beans, a little section of chicken, and they're good. And then I just throw everything else together, and my husband and I will eat it as kind of a more one pot dish. But you do you, you know how your family likes to eat and what their preferences are. So I'm just trying to show you different ways that you can make this to where even the pickiest of eaters will still like it. Okay, so this next one, I've told you before, I'm in Georgia. We definitely, we love that kind of Southern style foods, and this one definitely qualifies. So we're going to make just some super basic baked barbecue chicken. Really, you can use whatever barbecue sauce you like. I recently tried this one from Kinder's. It's one of those little $1 sauces you get at Walmart. And honestly, there's more than enough in that pack for you to try it a couple times and see if you really like it, and then go buy the bigger bottle. And if you don't like it, it was only $1. But anywho, off on a tangent there. So we're going to take our chicken breasts. If you're using these big chicken breasts from like Walmart or Kroger, they're huge. They're going to take forever to bake. So what I usually do is I butterfly them. That's where you cut them down the side, and then I usually cut them in half again. So I get nice 4 big Probably, remember they used to say to eat chicken or fish the size of a deck of cards. Well, that's kind of what I'm going for. So I usually end up with, we're going to use 3 to 4. You're going to have a good amount. So just play this one by ear with how much chicken your family will eat and how many leftovers you need. So we put the chicken on. I usually do a sprayed pan because barbecue sauce does burn and I don't want to clean that up. So then I just brush it or drizzle it with a little bit of the barbecue sauce. I've even just used a spoon and kind of spread it around. It's totally up to you. And we're going to bake that. While that's getting started, I did notice that a lot of stores, for whatever reason, are not carrying the 20-ounce can of pineapple tidbits. So we got pineapple chunks, and I would just go ahead and chop them up a little bit smaller. I think you can still do this with even crushed pineapple. I've just never tried. But what we're going to do, when you first open that can of pineapple, you're going to take about 3 tablespoons of the pineapple juice because we're going to need that. Put it in a bowl. We're going to add some sugar and some flour. Now, the rest of that juice we don't need for today, but I would go ahead and pour it in an ice cube tray so then later on you have that pineapple juice. You could make some pineapple rice. You could use it for so many other things. So then we're going to add our drained pineapple to that, give it a little stir, and put it at the bottom of a greased baking dish. Now, here's where it gets to the weird part. So we're going to top that with some shredded cheese. I kind of like to do it really fine, but that's up to you. And then we're going to take some melted butter and some crackers. Now, if you're going to go like authentic, you're going to do Ritz crackers, but you know what? You can use any crackers you like. I've used these soup crackers before, some saltines. Honestly, I just look around and see what crackers haven't been eaten. It may be some club crackers or townhouse style, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just giving you that nice crunch and a little bit of salty. And you're going to spread that out on top. And then we're going to throw this in the oven and we're going to bake it while our chicken is finishing. Now, about this time, your chicken's probably been cooking for about 15 minutes. So I go ahead and I flip it over and I hit it with a little bit more barbecue sauce. And then we put it back in the oven and we let it go for another 15 minutes. The time is really going to be based on how big your chicken breasts were to start for. Obviously, the bigger the chicken breast, the longer it's going to take. So it's another reason why I like the smaller pieces. And then we're just going to do some microwave steamed broccoli. My kids actually like broccoli just the way it is, but you know what? If you want to add some butter or some seasoning, totally up to you. Don't let me stand in your way. You feed your kids and yourself the way that you like to. Our next dish is going to be a creamy turkey enchiladas. Now, I am a huge fan of salsa verde, and this is just that really, really creamy version of that. So we're going to start with a pound of ground turkey. We're going to saute that, just brown it up until everything's cooked. Drain off any excess grease. At this point, you can add whatever seasoning you like. I'm just going to usually use a little bit of taco seasoning, but whatever floats your boat here, totally fine. Then we're going to let that sit for a side because it's probably going to be hot and we don't want it to be boiling hot. So I usually just cook this off. This is actually a great way if you were to make a big batch of like ground beef or ground turkey or whatever ground you like. I usually cook up the whole amount and then I save half of it or a third of it for another dish. Well, this would be perfect to start with that already pre-cooked. Then you're going to mix it together with some softened cream cheese. And then I usually do a mix of whatever cheese that I have. So this week we're going to probably have some cheddar and some mozzarella. So just do a mixture of that. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Cheese is cheese and it's all great. So we've got our turkey, our cream cheese, and our shredded cheese all mixed together. It's going to be a little thick. And then we're going to spread that out over, this package has 10 tortillas, but I usually do 8 because that's what fits in like my glass lasagna pan. But whatever pan you have, just make as many that will work. So I just spread it out between those, roll them up, and then I put them in seam side down. That's important because you don't want them to flip open. Then in a bowl, we're going to take a can of cream of chicken soup. Now, keep following me here because I know this sounds weird, but it's very good. Now, if you don't like cream of chicken soup, totally fine. You can take chicken broth and thicken it and make your own cream of chicken. Totally up to you. But cream of chicken is pretty thick, so we're going to take about 1.5 cups of water and we're going to thin that out. We're also going to add in our salsa verde, and then here's the kicker. We're going to add in 8 ounces of sour cream, and we're going to mix it all together. Now, personally, I use about 1 cup of water to start with. And then when I see it at the very end, because salsa verde sometimes is really thick, sometimes it's really thin. So you might want to adjust that depending on the brand of salsa that you get. Once you have that all together, it should be like a nice pourable consistency. I'm going to pour that over the top of all of my enchiladas that I've rolled. Now, I like to make sure that every little piece of that the tortillas get covered, because otherwise they get like super crunchy, and that's not the vibe that I'm going for. We're going to bake that in the oven. Usually takes about 20 minutes. You want everything nice and bubbly and hot. Now, you can top this with more additional cheese if you like. I usually don't, but totally up to you. And then we're going to serve this. We do it with a nice big dollop of sour cream on top, but it's also really good if you had like some sliced avocado. You could add some tomato, do it like a Mexican restaurant, and serve it with some lettuce and tomato on the side. Totally up to you. Zucchini is totally in season and you can get really good deals. So I would just slice this bad boy in either rounds or like the half moon shape and saute it in maybe some butter, do some seasonings. Totally up to you. I just really like using seasonal produce when I can get a good deal. Now, I always like a good crock pot dish, and this one is a classic. We're going to take one of these marinated pork loins. They come in a bunch of different flavors. I've seen it where it's like mesquite. Some of them have bacon, like a bacon wrapped layer. There's some that's like a steakhouse mushroom. Whatever flavor you want will work. Basically, we're going to start with an onion. We're going to slice it into rings, but you could also do big slices, totally up to you. And then we're going to take a pound of carrots. Now, a pound of carrots, depending on the size of the carrots, usually 4 to 6 carrots. I usually go for like a good 2-inch chunk, but it depends on you. The smaller, like really thin rounds of carrots may get mushy, so I tend to go with a little bit bigger. And then you're just going to put your marinated pork loin right on top. Of course, take it out of the plastic first, and whatever juice is left in there, I just go ahead and pour it on top. Now, as this pork cooks, it's going to release all of its juices, so you don't have to add a whole lot of extra stuff in here. I know that some people like to add a couple tablespoons of water or a couple pads of butter. Totally up to you. Then, once it gets closer to dinner time, we're just going to do super simple. We're going to just boil the rest of our pasta. We had fettuccine left over, so we're going to use that. But you can use any pasta you like. It doesn't matter the shape. And then once it's done cooking and you drain it, we're just going to add a couple pads of butter to that. And we're going to add some of our Parmesan cheese because we already used it for another dinner, so we have some left over. Super simple Parmesan buttered noodles. My kids love this stuff. And then we're going to serve that pork loin with the carrots and onions. Now, depending on the cut of pork loin and how you get it, and also what knife you use. I usually use a straight edge knife, and I get some nice slices out of this. If you use a serrated knife, you're going to have more of a shredded pork feel. Either way, this is one of those. It's going to make a good amount of leftovers, which is perfect for lunch. So, oh my goodness. So as I'm recording this, my AC is still on because it's not quite cold enough yet to cut it off, and I am freezing. Like it literally feels like fall. But anyway, so if you see goosebumps, that's why. Anywho, I hope you have enjoyed the meal plan this week. Stick around because next week we'll have another one and another one and another one. And don't forget to come check us out on Facebook. We put lots of content out there. Sometimes I'm even funny. I know you wouldn't believe that from these videos. We also have a meal planning group where you can go if you get stuck, if you want help, if you want advice, go over there, and I'll leave that in the description below. And don't forget to sign up for our email newsletter. It goes out once a week on Fridays, and it's basically a recap of our entire week plus a preview of the Saturday menu. So I hope you all have a wonderful week, and hopefully you guys are cooling off because I've heard that some areas are still really hot. So hopefully you start seeing those, leaves start falling and the fall start falling. Okay, bye now.